Well, hello everybody and good morning. Hope you're all as excited as I am to get some awesome personal development today with John Maxwell. I don't have the amazing technology. I'm just not as smart as Joel Dunn. So we go back to old school Zoom for today and Thursday. I know Joel and Stephanie are taking care of some business and getting some things done. So today, Tay and I are going to walk you through this next lesson. But first, let's get plugged in here, and we are going to listen to Mr. John Maxwell himself. So let me see if I can get that on here. 1 second.
Now, this next shift that I want to talk to you about is I don't know, to say it's my favorite probably is not fair because whatever I'm teaching is my favorite, okay? But I really think this is my favorite, okay? I mean, if I really do. If you really press me, I say, yeah, this is it. And I don't hear a lot of people talk about it, so let's talk about it. This shift goes from ladder climbing to ladder building. I want to talk to you about making the leader shift from climbing your own ladder to helping someone else build a ladder for them to climb. This is a tremendous shift. I call this in the book the production shift. Now, let me just give you a confession here. I'm kind of amused at this because it's literally the chapter in the book on leadership. Ladder climbing to ladder building, and I call it the production shift. Now, let me tell you the problem with writing books. As soon as I'm done writing a book, I look at it and I want to tweak it and I want to change it. And when you write a book, it stays there. You know what I'm saying? Because whenever I do my lessons, I'm always working the lessons and reworking the lesson. And I call this the production shift, and it works. The production shift is really, but I really shouldn't have called it that. I mean, what do you say about a book that isn't even quite out yet? It just says that I'm not very smart, doesn't it? I mean, couldn't you think I could get a little bit bigger and a little bit better in my thinking? I want to call this the reproduction shift because that's what it really is. When I go to ladder building, I'm doing more than producing. I'm reproducing, okay? So you're the first to know this, okay? So when the book comes out, show this chapter to somebody and say, yeah, John just didn't think enough on this one. In fact, I was with him, and I really think it should be the reproduction shift. If he would have talked to me before he would have written it, it could have been so much better, okay? So it's kind of amusing to me, but it's also very frustrating to me because, a book, when you write a book, it's a book. And I look at it already, I say, oh no, I should call this the reproduction shift. But here's what Isaac Newton said, and I love this quote. I have seen farther than others, if I've seen farther than others. It is by standing on the shoulders of giants. And that is so true. And so let's talk about how do I go from ladder climbing, which is where we all start, to ladder building. So let me give you the ladder stages. Number one is ladder climbing. This is where we start. And on ladder climbing, I ask myself a simple question, and the question is, how high can I go? How high can I go? And I want you to know that this is where you want to start. And let me say this, you want to climb as high as you can climb. So this is the first stage. This isn't a bad stage. This is a very good stage. You want to climb as high as you can climb. And here's why. If you're ever going to lead people and influence people, you've got to be successful yourself. No one ever gets up and says, wow, I would like to follow an unsuccessful leader. Wouldn't it be amazing if I followed somebody that wasn't any good? Oh my gosh. Wouldn't it be great to be on the team and lose every game? We don't go up and say, now, you're not any good, are you? Because I want to join a team, but I want to have a leader that's, it's not very good. No. The credibility you have to lead others is you're good yourself. If you're not good yourself, there's nothing attractive about anybody joining your team. No, nobody. I mean, hello. If nobody that's financially in trouble says, oh my gosh, I'm in financial difficulty, boy, I'm going to call Joe. He'll help me out. He's been bankrupt 3 times. We don't go there. No. We go to somebody that's got their financial act together. We go say, okay, talk to you, teach me. So the question on how high I could go on climbing your ladder, you want to go as high as you can go because people want to be with leaders who win. I mean, okay, if LeBron James and I, or if LeBron joins me on stage, okay, and we're picking teams, we're going to have a little basketball game after this teaching. And LeBron's captain one team, I'm captain the other team. And so LeBron's about to pick one of you to be on his team. You know what? Every one of you, you're not sitting there taking notes. You're standing up on your chairs. You're pick me, because you know that if LeBron picks you, you have greatly increased the odds of winning. And when it's my turn to choose, you're diving under the chairs. I can't even find it. Where did they all go? Well, you're head for why? You don't want me to pick you because you know if Maxwell picks you, you're going to lose. So everybody wants to be part of a winning team. So you want to, on the ladder climbing thing, climb as high as you can. The higher you climb, the more credibility you have for the other stages that I'm about to teach you. So stage 1 of the ladder stages is ladder climbing. And the question is, how high can I go? So let's go to stage 2. After we've done a good job ladder climbing, we can kind of move over to stage 2, which is ladder holding. And the question I ask when I'm going to become a ladder holder is how high will others go with some help? In other words, if I hold their ladder for them, can they climb a little higher? Can they do a little bit better? How high can they go if I offer them a little help? Now, when I look at this phase of my life, ladder holding begins with me with gratitude. And let me just say what I mean by that. A lot of times I go over and hold a ladder for someone else, and I'm very grateful because you know what? All the people that have held the ladder for me. In other words, I think of all the people that today are still ladder holders in my life. And I'm climbing higher because they're holding that ladder steady. And I wouldn't be able to go as high if it was that. So part of my holding ladders for other people is based out of gratitude because I've had people hold ladders for me. But it's also a part of attitude. And what I mean by attitude is that I continue it because I have a servant's heart to help other people. Kevin Myers said a great quote to me one time. I've had the privilege of mentoring him for 25 years, and it's kind of we're at the stage of life where sometimes when I'm mentoring him, I think he's mentoring me. One of the great things about mentoring people, when they really get good, is they give you stuff back better than you gave it to them. I mean, you give it to them, and they give it back to you and thought, oh my gosh, thank you very much. And he told me one time, he said, John, leaders should want more for their people than from their people. And I love that distinction. Ladder holding is where I want more for you than I want from you. And one of the privileges that I've really had in my life is to do a lot of ladder holding. I love to do ladder holding. When I started the John Maxwell team, and we started credentialing coaches, that's ladder holding. I thought, what would happen if I held their ladder and I gave them my name? and they could be a John Maxwell team coach. What would happen? Could they go a couple rungs higher? Could they improve themselves? And so I really thought that through, and I thought the main reason I started the coaching company is because I wanted to be a ladder holder for now 20,000 coaches in 160 countries. I'm holding their ladder, and I love holding their ladder. What a joy. I mean, and I'm watching them. They're going a little higher. Why are they going higher? Because the ladder's holding steady now. And so when it comes to ladder holding, it's something that I love about. But now let me give you a great teaching principle out here. Ladder holding is the best way to discover people's potential. If you're holding their ladder, you know how high they will climb because you're right there and you're watching it. And you can hold the ladder for some people, and honestly, they don't climb very much. And then you hold the ladder for other people, and you just say, wow, look how high they've gone. I can't believe this. They were halfway up the ladder. I started holding this ladder, and now they're clear at the top. Now, here's why that's so important. Because the ones that when you hold the ladder for really start climbing and going up those rungs, these are the ones you take to the next stage of this ladder teaching. Because ladder climbing, how high can I go? That's where I get my credibility. Ladder holding, okay, how many people can I help? And by the way, you ought to just be holding as many people's ladders as you possibly can. You ought to be a ladder holder. You just, every chance I get to hold your ladder, I want to hold your ladder, okay? But in holding your ladder, now I get to watch you climb. If you're climbing high, then I'm ready to go to stage 3. And that's the ladder extending stage. Wow. Now, when I do the ladder extending, we take that ladder and we push it on up higher. We push up on higher. The question I ask on ladder extending is, how high will others go with a lot of help? You see, when I'm holding the ladder, how high will they go with some help? Now that we're extending that ladder and we're getting our reach higher, how high will they go with a lot of help? Now, this enters into what I call the mentoring field. I think ladder extending is where you start mentoring people. And mentor, the word mentor, it's a verb and it's a noun. When you think of mentoring as a verb, it's something I do. When we think of it as a noun, it's something you are. And mentoring is both something I do and something that I am. And you can't isolate them. You can't say, well, I'm not a person that you really should follow, but I'm really good at what I do, or vice versa. So the verb is, this is something I do. The noun, this is something that I am. And so when I extend a person's ladder, I basically ask this question, because now that you're taking that ladder and extending it to a whole new level, what's happening now is you're asking, you know that they can go to the top of the ladder before it's extended, but now that you extend that ladder, will they keep climbing? And so there's a question I ask about this when I start to extend that ladder, and that is, what is this person's capacity? Now, I'm extending the ladder to find out what that capacity is. I wrote a book that I hope all of you have, okay? In fact, I'm going to assume that you all have. Okay. Now, I'm not asking, so don't worry. I'm not going to put you on the spot. I'm just going to look at all of you and believe the best in you. I'm going to look at all of you and just say, of course they would have this book, John. They're trying to improve themselves. I'm having fun with you. The book is No Limits. Love this book. And the reason I love this book is because in the middle of it, in the book No Limits, I talk about 3 things: awareness, capacity, and choices. I talk about the fact that you need to be aware of what you need to grow in and work on. You need to have, you need to find out if you have, if in your giftedness, what kind of capacity you have, and then in your choices, the choices you make. So, and if you're aware of yourself and you have, and you're maximizing your gifts and you're making the right choices, then you become a no limit person. Okay. So I want to talk to you about capacity. because that's very hard. It's very hard to figure out what capacity is. I mean, what's a person's capacity? That's not easy. So in No Limits, I talk about capacities because I'm asking myself, what's your capacity? And let me tell you what they are real quickly. Now, I know you have the book and you've already read it, but just in case you just can't quite remember, let me pull them out for you, okay? And immediately you'll say, oh, yes, of course, I got that one. I got that one. One is energy capacity. I always want to know what's their ability to push on physically. Because some people have higher energy than others. Is that not true? High energy. So what kind of energy capacity do they have? By the way, people ask me all the time because I'm high energy. I got a lot of energy capacity. Trust me. And people say, John, how can you travel and do all this? Very simple. High energy, low IQ. Isn't that beautiful? Because think about it. If I had high IQ, I wouldn't do all this. If I had low energy, I couldn't do all this. But I have that perfect combination. You maybe don't have that. High energy, low IQ. You put those two together, away we go. So energy capacity. Another capacity I'm looking for is emotional capacity. Just the ability to manage emotions. Okay? How well can they, because there are just a lot of people, they don't have the emotional stamina to stay in the game. It's not that they lack capability. They're very good. They're very smart. But they emotionally can't handle the load. Thinking capacity. Their ability to think effectively. And the reason why that's so important is I find that the greatest gap between successful and unsuccessful people almost always is how they think. Unsuccessful people don't think like successful people. I'm not talking about IQ. I'm not talking about smartness. I'm just talking about the way of thinking. Unsuccessful people have a sabotaging way of thinking versus successful people. And how about people capacity? The ability to build relationships. I want to know what that. What's that capacity like? I want to know what that is. Again, it's awfully hard if you're in the people business and you don't like people. It's really uphill all the way. Huh? And when you see somebody that's in the people business and they don't like people, be their friend. Just privately go to them and say, could we talk? And when you're talking one-on-one, just look at them and say, my name's John, I'm your friend. And I just want you to know, people don't like you. Because here is what is amazing to me. Most people don't know that they're not likable. I don't think most people get up in the morning and say, I think I'll get people not to like me today. No. They don't do it intentionally. It just happens to be their gift. And then there's creative capacity, the ability to see options and find answers. That's a great definition of creativity. A creative person believes there's always an answer. If you're not I believe there's always an answer person, you won't be highly creative. That's what keeps you in the game. Okay? And then there's production capacity, their ability to accomplish results. And then there's leadership capacity, their ability to lift and to lead others. Wow. Now, so when you're getting ready to extend the ladder, you got to ask yourself, what is their capacity in those areas? And then you got to ask yourself another question. Are their values compatible to mine? Do we have compatible values? Because it's possible they could be high capacity, but their values are so skewed from what yours are that it still isn't going to work. And we've talked about those. I don't need to go back into those values, such as you want to add value to people, you want to do personal growth, you got to exceed expectations. Those kind of things are part of what we call in our coach camp the JMT DNA. And it's so important that they have those values that every time we get them together in Orlando, which is every 6 months, I go through an hour and a half teaching on what's the DNA of a John Maxwell team member? What does it look like? Because we want those values to be the same. Now, okay. So we've been ladder climbing, which gives us credibility, and then we've been ladder holding, which allows us to see a person's potential. And the ones that really show potential, we start to go to stage 3, which is ladder extending. But there's a whole different shift in leadership that you still want to make, and that is ladder building. Now, ladder building asks the question, can I help them build their own ladder? I love this. Can I help them? Can I help them build their own ladder? And let me just give you, so that I can help you with this, because I think that there are a lot of people, they don't mind developing people as long as they stay with them. But now I'm talking about you develop people that they're going to leave you. And they're going to leave you not because you were bad, they're going to leave you because you were a great equiper, and it's time for them to build their own ladder. It's time for them to climb their own ladder. It's time for them to start their own business. It's time for them to start their own organization. So let me just give you, I wrote this down. Let me just give you a few. I don't even know if you have time to write them down, but let me just give it to you. What I call ladder building questions. Such as, do I develop leaders to benefit others, not just myself? In other words, is it something that I'm willing to develop leaders, and even if they don't stay to help me, I just believe that leadership is so important that I'll invest in them, even if they're not going to stay with me. Or do I relinquish control and give other leaders freedom to be themselves and develop their own selves? I mean, do I empower them, or do I try to control them? Am I happy for a leader that I help to move on without me? Or maybe go to another mentor and let another mentor help them. And this is a great one. Am I genuinely happy for another person who's building their own ladder? And am I genuinely rooting for them? Like, yay, go for it. And the last question, am I willing to keep helping many leaders build their own ladders without expecting to receive any credit? And am I just willing to develop people because I want to develop people? And and I'm not going to get the benefit from it, the credit from it. I still love the comment a person made to me one time when they were talking about kind of ladder building, ladder equipping people. And they said, John, I said, I'll tell you what bothers me. I pour my life into somebody and I just give them my best, and I get them climbing that ladder, and they just do really well. And they said, when they get really good, what really frustrates me is then they leave me and they go to another company. They said, what could be worse than, developing a person, and then when they get really good, they leave you and go to another company? Is there anything that could be worse than that? I said, yes. Not developing them and having them stay. That's worse. So this ladder building really works on our motives. Am I really into helping develop other leaders, even if it doesn't always help me? Tyler Perry, in his book, Higher is Waiting, he has a beautiful chapter on little eaglets in their nest. And eagles build the largest, most comfortable nest and the highest nest of all birds. And those little eaglets stay in there a long time. As the mother comes, gets the food, comes to the comfort of the nest and feeds them. But there comes a day when it's time for those eaglets to start flying. But what's interesting is the eaglets never feel that day has come. It's always the mother who says, okay, it's time for you to get out of your nest. And the way they get them out of their nest is, instead of doing what they have done all the time, bringing the food in the nest and dropping it there for them to eat in the comfort and security, those mothers, they fly above and around the nest with the food. And they keep holding on to it until those little eaglets get right out there on the edge and get there out on the edge. And then they want that food so bad, they just finally take a leap. And of course, they get the food. And of course, the mother's there if they can't fly yet. I mean, she's going to rescue them. But she understands that it's her job to get them out of the nest. And what I want you here's what I want you to say. When you're a good leader, you recognize that it's time for a person to have their own ladder built for them before they do. And you're saying, okay, it's time for you to go on your own. It's time for you now to launch out. And I could say, I've had, I could remember when Tim Elmore was with me at Equip, and he had a whole section of Equip of helping college kids grow and teach them leadership. And I remember the day Tim and I had the discussion. He'd been with me. Tim had been with me for 22 years. And I said, Tim, got to get you out of the nest. It's time for you to have your own. It's time for you to have your own ladder. It's time for you to have your own company. It's time for you to go climb that. I'm going to help you. I'm going to help you build that ladder. I'm going to set you up. And I did. I set him up. I helped him with resources and everything to get started. But I said, go for it. And he's got this beautiful company now for college kids, high school kids called Growing Leaders. And every time I see him and what he's doing, I say to myself, more is being accomplished to help people because I helped him build his ladder than if I would have tried to keep extending my ladder. And so if you're a leader, you need to be like that mother eagle. You need to recognize it's time for me to let them fly, to let them go on their own. One of my mentors was Fred Spin. And he was a beautiful, beautiful, wise, major leader in the corporate world. And he just took me under his wings, and he really helped me a lot. And so while he was mentoring me, he was telling me about a group of CEOs in Dallas, young CEOs, just real young, starting, just babies. And he took about 20 of them, and he put them under his wings. And for 3 years, every month, he mentored them and helped them build their companies. And he was the mentor. And he said, after 3 years, he looked at them and he said to them, okay, mentoring's over. I've done a lot, and you've learned a lot, and you're doing really well. You don't need me anymore. And so he said, now it's time for you to fly on your own. And he said, so he stopped that relationship, and they did well. A year later, they asked him if they could have dinner with him, and he said, sure, I'd be glad to catch up. And so he came back to dinner with these 20 CEOs, and they stood up one by one at the table that evening and told Fred what he had done for them and how he had helped them and how they had grown because of him. It was a very touching time. And when it was finished, they gave him this beautiful, beautiful crystal bowl. And on it, they had inscribed the words, you stretched us. And so I went to see Fred when he was not doing well physically. I flew to Dallas and went to his house, and I knew that he was in his last days. And I wanted to spend a few hours at his feet, thanking him for what he had done for me. And it was precious. It was just a time with us. And I brought out all the lessons he had taught me. And he was in a wheelchair, so I pulled my chair over beside him, and I would tell him, and I would give him a hug, kiss him on the cheek, and I said, let me tell you something else. And the tears just rolled, and I'd tell him more. It was just beautiful. And when I finished, he said, John, I want to show you this. And he showed me that crystal. And here I thought, here's a man who has been at the top of his world, but his greatest joy is 20 CEOs that would say, you stretched us. That's ladder building. Now, Sam Chan is a wonderful friend of mine. I hope you know Sam. You should know Sam. And he's the one that gave me this ladder principle or this ladder concept. And so he's written books. He wrote a book called Who's Holding Your Ladder? Who's Shaking Your Ladder? Who Moved Your Ladder? I love that one. And so I was with him recently, and because I asked him permission, I said, I want to quote you in some of this book. And so we were having a breakfast together, had a wonderful time. And so he said, well, come on out with me to my car. And I was in Birmingham. He lives in Atlanta, so he had driven over to have a meal with me. So we went out, and they brought his car around, and his license plate said, Ladder Man. LDDRMAN. And I took a picture of Sam and his license plate. Then I got real selfish. I said, Sam, let me get down here by the light. Take a picture of me. Because I said, Sam, that's what I really want to be. I want to be a ladder man. I want to climb my ladder and be successful so that I have credibility. I want to hold my ladder. I want to hold the ladder for others so they can start stretching. And for the ones that have great potential, I want to be the extender ladder guy. I want to extend the ladder. And then for those who, when I extend it, they still keep on climbing, I want to go over and say, okay, let's go build your own ladder. I want to be ladder man. I think you want to be ladder man, don't you? Be a ladder woman. Always look at others and say, they're a little higher because I stretched them.
I love this concept, the shift that John is talking about in this chapter. And I love it because John himself, he is a ladder builder. For as long as I've known him, I've worked here for 20 years, and he's always been building ladders. In fact, what we do is build a ladder for other people. That's our point. That's what we do. And so as John would teach this, I would really try to process, because John made this shift before I was around. A lot of these shifts, as 20 years working alongside John, the last 8 really working alongside John, I've seen him make these shifts. This one's one that just has seemed to work and that he's made for a long time. So what is it that we look for when we are building ladders, or when we are holding or extending ladders for others, when we finally quit trying to climb our own ladder of success and started thinking about others? That kind of a leader. We all like working for that kind of a leader. And the first way that I really think about this is what Patrick Lencioni, a good friend of John Maxwell, I've spent a lot of time with Pat Lencioni. He says that a good teammate is one that is hungry, humble, and smart. Hungry, humble, and smart. I think that's a great formula for what it looks like for someone that you want to extend their ladder, someone you want to build a ladder for. They need to be hungry. They need to be humble. They need to be smart. In our language, we talk about people that are teachable. They're teachable. You guys are, we're just all sitting here learning today. I'm talking a lot, but you guys are just sitting here jotting it down. That's what coachable means. I say this often, but I believe that when the student is ready, the teacher appears. I believe when somebody is hungry enough or hurts enough, they will change the trajectory of their life. That's why people, after a significant relationship loss, they lose a bunch of weight. It's not that they're better in August than they are in January. We all have New Year's resolutions in January. It's because something hurt so badly, I'm going to change something in my life. Or I've seen people 8, 9 years old determine, I will not live in the poverty level that I grew up in. And at 8 or 9 years old, they become hungry enough to change the trajectory of their life. That's what I'm talking about with this coachability. There is a component in a potential leader that they're teachable. They may know more than you. They have more degrees. They may have more experience, but it's like any environment they're in, they're this sponge. The second thing that we look for, John and I and our organization to look for in someone we're going to build a ladder, is passion. They got to enjoy what they do. Now, everybody is not demonstrating passion like me, thank God. Wouldn't that be a mess? The world would be chaos if we had a bunch of redheads going around, hair on fire. And we all know that. And thank God we're not all like that. Thank God we're not all like that. But whatever passion looks like to each individual, it's got to be there for it to be a productive ladder building environment. And then finally, what I would say after teachable and after having passion, it would be shared values. We value the same things. We go after the same things. One of the things I have loved about John, he used a very dear friend of mine in the book, Tim Elmore. Tim's organization, Growing Leaders, is profoundly impacting the next generation. I look at what John has done for many other people that he's mentored, and they're leading some of the biggest companies in the world. They are running some of the biggest faith organizations in the world because John built a ladder. He extended their ladder, and he gave them a track to grow their influence. That's what it really looks like. We're in a season of John's life to where everywhere we go, somebody comes up that is profoundly impacting different than John, sometimes better than John, many times bigger than John, that says, I am where I am because you built a ladder for me. That's the kind of leader I want to challenge us to be. I want to build ladders for people to be able and to be able to accomplish great things. And I think it starts with a shared sense of values, a shared sense of teachability. I want to be taught. I want to learn. And then a shared sense of passion. I think what really causes someone to make this shift from ladder climbing to ladder building is a sense of abundance. I've worked for very successful leaders that was not about to share their leadership secrets with me. They was afraid I would out-succeed them. So I think there's this real sense of gratitude. There's this real sense that you freely received, let me freely give, that comes with people like John Maxwell that has built ladders for so many people for so many years. I know for me, about 3 years ago, well, let's start 8 years ago, John asked me, the guy that had started in this company back in a stock room making telesales calls to fill up events. We called it putting butts in seats. That was my job title. And about 8 years ago, when John looked at me and he said, hey, not only do I want you to become a business partner of mine, not only do I want to mentor you more specifically, I want you to lead my then 3 companies. We're now 7, blowing and growing and doing great things. But it was 3 companies at the time. And I was like, John, did you forget where I went to college? I went to a little small private school in Jackson, Mississippi. Our greatest athletic program was intramural ping pong. I mean, it was profound. And I went, John, we didn't have a business school. We had a theology school. And he asked me to lead this for him. And man, have you forgotten? He said, I see something in you. I want to build a ladder for you. Man, that's crazy. So we did pretty good because of an incredible team, mind you. Let's not get our understanding of where the true credit goes to. But we've had an incredible trajectory, a great win. About 3 years ago, John felt like there were a couple of other areas in his life, speaking, writing, communicating, that he felt like that he wanted to get some people to help him with. He came to me. So now not only did he get the guy that didn't have a business degree to run his businesses, now he's asking somebody that uses the English language as Southern slang and uses language all wrong. Y'all know what I'm talking about because you're sitting here. And he said, I want to give you my microphone. I want you to stand on my stage. I want to put the spotlight that's usually on me on you. And once again, I found myself wanting to knock on his head and go, have you lost your marbles? What are you doing? And I tell you, he saw something in me that I didn't even see in myself. That's what a ladder builder does. They see potential in people that don't even know they have that potential. And so that's what it looks like to be on the other side of that. And I've communicated before. I've done things, led things before, but never at the scale and the magnitude that John, the ladder builder, saw in me, the leader that was on the ground floor just wanting to ascend something. I subscribe in my life plan to this concept that if I've been given a lot of access to key influential leaders, then I should be extending that to others. In other words, John teaches it like this: let's be a river, not a reservoir. If you have been given all of this access and all of this influence, it's not for your own consumption. It is for your distribution. It should flow through you. And several years ago, I decided every year that due to the relationship with John Maxwell and the connections and the doors he opened, I was going to get top CEOs of big companies to mentor me. And I was going to spend a couple of days a year with me, let me ask them questions and let them help me become. I'm talking about Delta Airlines, COO of Microsoft. These are people that are really doing some great things. But I also determined in that same breath that if I was going to get that I would need to mentor other people. And so every year, without fail, I select 5 people that I'm going to mentor on a personal level. This is not for hire. This is not for pay, but it is a strong priority in me. Now, my process is I get, I don't know why, but I get quite a number of these requests a year, people that would like to mentor me. Will you help me? And so I capture all of them, and then in the month of December, I go through their request, why they made the request, where they're wanting to go, and why they think I can help them get there. A series of questions I ask. And then select 5 and spend once a month. Now, here's my point in saying this here. I think to pick somebody just because you need to pick them without putting expectations for them to step up is not building a ladder for somebody. It's putting somebody on a platform where they'll surely fall. They've got to climb just like I climbed. I can't pick them up and set them on the same rung of ladder that I'm on and expect them to have the same amount of success or to do things greater than me, which is the real point. You've got to provide the ladder. You've got to provide the process, but it's up to them to take that journey up. That's what John did for me. That's what I do with my mentorship, because it's one thing to have a ladder building process to make this shift. It's another thing to find the people who's really ready to benefit from that shift. But it's an altogether different thing on whether they're going to actually take the journey that's required. So find people to build ladders with that want to pay the price of climbing the ladder. So let's build a ladder. I mean, let's take this shift that John's given us, this model of developing leaders that John has shown, perhaps a couple of ideas of how I do that, and let's go build a ladder for someone. As leaders, let's do that. So here's what I want you to do. I want you to write down your personal values. If you've never done this, it's a great exercise if we just stop right there. What do you value? What are your personal values? In other words, I want you to make a roadmap of how you're going to build a ladder for other people. Let's call it becoming a ladder leader. So develop your values and then identify someone that shares those values with you and begin asking them questions about their dreams, their goals, and determine if it might be somebody that you might be interested in mentoring. I don't care how old you are, I don't care how accomplished you are, I don't care how successful you may or may not feel. We need to begin the practice of building ladders for others.
Man, awesome stuff. So, Tay, I know you've got probably like me, like 10 pages of notes. So what are a few things that for you just really stuck out on this lesson?
Yeah, I got a lot from that. It was a lot of good things as far as just me and my journey, and also just with helping others. And another thing, which is like this group surrounding others with other people who are going to continue to lift each other up as a community. But what really stuck out to me was when he talked about ladder holding, and he said, how would others go with some help? And I just look for us, I think social media can be good, it can be bad, it can be great. And I just see it as an opportunity, as a platform that we can have to be a ladder for other people's. For me, I think Instagram stories, that is a ladder that I've made myself. I told myself, I heard this quote a long time ago, and I just I just kind of put it in my head and my heart, and like, this is what I'm going to live for. And it was be so invested in others that you can't afford not to show up. So for me, every single day, I made it a habit to daily devotions. I do 365 every single day. I'm going to do a daily devotion. So for my people that follow me, I'm not doing it just for the sake of myself, but I'm also doing it for people who don't like to read devotions. You know, they love to get on stories and see things that's positive. They love to be surrounded by people who are going to speak positivity into their lives. So like for me, I do that every single day. I do a verse of the day every single day. If you look at my stories, most of it, you'll barely see things that's about me. Most of the things I'm doing is always positive. It's always encouraging people, you know, that your circumstances isn't where you're supposed to stay. I'm never about the negativity. I'm always about lifting people up and just really speaking life into people. So for me, that's one thing that I love. And the second one was when he talked about ladder building, and he said, "Can I help them build their own ladder?" And I think just using our platform as something that we can help people do that. One thing I love, he said, we will be more accomplished if we help others build their own ladders instead of trying to extend ours. And I just thought about that within our team. And immediately I thought about the situation I spoke about last week about when we missed the leadership retreat. And we had a leader that we tried to push to get to this rank instead of letting her just do it herself. And we kind of got a aha moment when we stopped trying to push her and just let her become the leader that she was supposed to become to. So when we really stopped trying to control the way she worked, control the timing of her promotion, and really just start building into her and just allow her to do things her own way, I think she was better because of it. And I just thought about this quote that it was at a time where it was pretty tough for us because it was this stage that we all went through, I think company-wide, where people was leaving our business. So we were scared to be invested in other people because we didn't know if they was going to stay or if they were going to leave. But for me, I just came up, if they're going to stay, they're going to stay. If they're going to leave, then, you know, they're going to leave. So what I got out of it, it was a quote I heard. It said, "Don't worry about losing people, lunch them. If people are going to leave, know that you lunch somebody and you made their lives better because they was with you." So for me, just taking the focus off of them leaving and thinking that, you know, we're losing out on somebody or something and just worrying about them, like the negative part of it, I was like, and I just thought about the quote. He said, if you don't build them to stay, that's worse. So it was like, why focus on the people that's leaving and think that it's a negative thing? If you're doing what you're supposed to do as a leader, then you're taking your agenda off the plate. You're doing what you say that you want to do every single day, and that's help others. You want to help others grow in all areas of life. So for me, I don't worry about losing people in whatever the situation going to be. I know I'm going to invest in that person, and if they leave, that they're going to multiply whatever we had. So I think ultimately what I'm trying to say is, like, you have to understand that you're going to help people grow, whether they're going to grow down or they're going to grow up. So for me, I don't focus on the negativity. If you're going to focus on everything that you can't control, then you have to understand that you're going to help people grow down. So for me, you have to be so invested in other people that you show up every single day, even when you don't want to, because you have chosen that you want to be a leader. You want to be the person out in front, leading the path for other people. So I just encourage you guys, just continue to show up. Just know that you show up to this Zoom every single Tuesday and Thursday. It's for a reason. Like, we all have our situation. Life is hitting all of us in different aspects, but you have to understand, like, everything that you're going through right now is just seeds that's being planted within yourself so that you can look at your situation and point to somebody else and say, hey, I was there and this is how I got through it. So as you just share where you are and just know that whatever you're going through is not for you. Most of the time it's not for you. It's that person who wasn't strong enough to show up to a personal development on Tuesdays and Thursdays. You're doing this for them. So think about everything that you're doing. You're not adding to people. You're multiplying everything that you're doing. So it was a lot that I got from here today, Chad. And that was just some of the little things that really stuck out to me.
So awesome, man. Yeah, I loved everything that you said there. Just the whole idea of abundance. You know, we had a girl on our team yesterday, and she'd been prospecting someone for a couple years, and then she saw that she got started in the business. And, you know, like any human being, her first thought was, oh man, I was hoping she would join me. And I think it's very easy at some point then to go, you know, forget her, you know, I can't believe she didn't join me or whatever. But this girl was emotionally mature enough to reach out to her and say, hey, I saw you joined. I just want to congratulate you to join. And she understood the one team, one mission, you know, and she's just like, I'm excited for you. And that's how she positioned her heart. And that is positioning ourselves from a place of abundance where it doesn't matter You know, as long as we're out there and we're planting seeds, sometimes we're going to benefit from those seeds, and sometimes we're not going to benefit from those seeds. And either way, we have to be okay with that. Otherwise, are we being selfless or are we being selfish? And I think the evidence would suggest that if we're just for people when it benefits us, then we're being selfish. But I had a couple things here I wanted to share. One was, I guess this kind of goes into that. First one is just having a servant's heart. Leaders should want more for their people than from their people. You know, that's the kind of leader we all want, right? We all want people that want to do more for us than get from us. And since that's what we all want to have, that's what we all should want to be. And I think that's so important, just that concept of paying it forward. You know, one thing that I know Tay is amazing at, and that I try and do great at too, is when we learn something great, like when something awesome happens in our life, we're like, we got to tell as many people as we can about this. And that's why I love this whole business model, because you get a product and you try it and you use it, or you give it to a friend and they use it, and then you see what happens out of that. And we get excited about these testimonials. And then so we go and we share that with people because it's going to benefit people. And I think we always have to do a checkup from the neck up and make sure that our motivations are correct. Because if your motivations aren't correct, people know that and they feel like they're being hunted. Nobody wants to be hunted, right? Y'all know what I'm talking about. Go step your foot out of your car in a used car lot when you have 3 people make a beeline for you. You feel like you're being hunted, don't you? You're like, oh, I gotta run away. I'm gonna get shot. You know, and when we take the old shotgun out, we start firing at people, they aren't gonna come to you and say, give me some more of that. They're running and hiding. And so we don't want to be hunters in this business, right? We want to attract people into this. It's more like you're being a fisherman than a hunter. And so that's an important part. The second thing I wrote down here was when you're helping people, you know, and you're holding the ladder for it. What does that mean? You know, what does that mean? And it works. And so what I think it means is you always want to throw out your net to your team, because you have to identify who's serious. You know, we always say who's teachable, who's willing to work, and who has some ambition. So what are some ways you can throw out your net? You can anytime decide to do a Zoom and just say you're going to share the opportunity. In our eSuite, there's like a 10-slide opportunity, and you can just tell your team, hey, I'm going to provide this for anybody, and then just see who shows up. You know, you can see right now, I know the ones on my team that show up to this regularly. That means something, right? To be teachable, it means something. 3-way calls. You can offer 3-way calls, 3-way chats, you know, just asking your team who really is in the game. You know, it's easy to, this company's full of joiners, but we have to sort through the joiners to find the finishers, right? And the producers, and the people who are actually going to do it. And so just when you show up to trainings and you ask your team, who's coming with me? You know, who's going to get in the car with you? We all know that there's that person that'll drive 4 hours to be there, but then there's the one across the street that's getting their nails done that day and they can't make the training. And you're like, okay, that all means something, right? It means something. You want to watch these things and know who you're going to hold the ladder for, because it's going to mean something to them, and they're actually going to show up. No one wants to hold a ladder and the person doesn't show up to even climb the ladder, right? So we have to hold the ladder for people who are interested. Unsuccessful, the third point I wrote down here is unsuccessful people have a sabotaging way of thinking, okay? Out of our thoughts come our attitude, out of our attitude comes our action, and out of our action comes our result. So it all starts with thinking. You know, as a man thinketh, so he is. You know, think and grow rich. Think like a billionaire, become a billionaire. You know, recently I've been seeing all these books I have around, and they have the word think, and I'm like, oh my gosh. And so the Bible says take every thought captive, because we have to identify that way that we're thinking. And the cool thing is that we can stop thinking one way and start thinking a new way. But you have to evaluate. Pam Souter will say, start a thought journal, take about 3 days, and just jot in there your thoughts. And you know, one of the biggest challenges most people have is it's this self-doubt, this self-criticism type thinking. If you're telling yourself, why bother? I can't do this. It's not going to happen for me. This is for other people. I'm too young. I'm too old. I'm too busy. I'm too whatever. You know, that is sabotaging way of thinking. And all you have to do is you just have to take those thoughts and understand they're not serving you. They're not helping you win, and change them into winning thoughts. And it's a process. You know, when you were born, you weren't a negative thinker. I wasn't a negative thinker when I was born. It was stuff that we were conditioned, we conform to the world. The world in general is negative. And so we have to get around positive people. I love the phrase eternal optimist. I think it's important that why not? If you could choose to be an eternal optimist or a negative pessimist, why not choose to be an eternal optimist? And it's a process that you can go through to where your mind thinks that way, where you see the good. It's easy to see the dirt in people. Right? It's so easy it's easy to love the lovable, but who's going to love the unlovable? You know, who's going to be the nice person to the jerk? Right? Very, very rare. So we can change our thinking though to where we are selfless and we are giving and we have a servant's heart. And you know, service to many leads to greatness. That's why so few people are great, because so few people serve the many. And so that's one thing I'd add. And then just a couple more here. Be a great equipper. This is huge. You know, I've spent time in the military, and I've gone through lots of, I've been to lots of churches, you know, in different seasons, and I've been able to kind of watch the church. And I see pastors that a lot of times equip and they hold on and they make those people need them, right? And sometimes you're at a company, like maybe you work at a company where your boss is building you as long as it benefits them, as long as it benefits the company. But what's rare and what's amazing, and I saw this happen at a church I went to in North Carolina, is people who raise leaders and send them out, raise leaders and send them out, raise leaders and send them out. I know the first few times we had a leader leave, because we've had some leaders leave our team, it was, I would get frustrated about it. I would get angry, and it'd make me question, should I put all this time and effort into another person? And I had to personally make this shift. And what I can tell you now is we've had people that we've mentored, and we've loved them when they joined the company. We've loved them as they've exited the company. And some of these people I've got great relationships with to this day that have gone on and done other things, and it doesn't benefit me, but we still have these conversations and we still talk. And I've been able to pour into their lives and sow into their lives, because it's so much bigger than just what do we get. And I hope you guys got that out of today. And just John Maxwell's the best one to really see that. And just the idea that he actually pushes people out of his company because he sees they're going to fly so much better when, you know, like the eagle analogy. I love the eagle analogy. So I'll just give you one more that I had here. And this is just the idea of abundance. You know, the idea of abundance is knowing that there is so much out there. There's exceedingly more than we can even imagine. So if you have a prospect and, you know, and they decide to go join someone else and not join you, or you have someone on your team that leaves, just understand that if you stay in the game, not only will you have dozens on your team, then you'll have hundreds on your team, then you'll have thousands on your team. And if you stay long enough, you'll have hundreds of thousands on your team. We were just at an event last month, and Melody and Blair McFarland just celebrated 14 years. And you know what they told us? They said they just realized that between customers and distributors, they've had over 1 million people come into their organization in 14 years. 1 million. So just think there's probably a few hundred they know they impacted their lives, but imagine the other hundreds that just came in for a season and have gone on and done great things, and the seeds that the McFarlands have planted. And the one thing they always say is, you know, how many people can you fit into your heart? How big of a capacity do you have in your heart to just love on people and plant those seeds, love on people, sow love, because you'll eventually reap love. You know what's interesting? It's like John Maxwell talks about the boomerang effect, and whatever you put out there is what you're going to get back. So if you put out there love and respect and encouragement and giving and friendship and all these things, that's exactly what you're going to get back. Or on the other hand, if you're sowing seeds of negativity and gossip and just dissension and these other types of things, then ultimately that's what you're going to get back to. And that's why I love the phrase that time always promotes or exposes people. All we got to do is sit back. Justice is always served. Okay. We don't have to serve the justice. justice gets served, right? And so I think what we need to do is we just need to continue to do what we're doing right now, grow ourselves, grow our capacity to love, grow our mindset of abundance, and continue to go out, discover what we're created to do it on a daily basis, which part of that always has to do with serving and giving, because ultimately at the end of the day, what God wants to do is he wants to use us, right? He wants to use us to expand his kingdom on earth. He wants to use us to flow through us into other people. So that's the only reason our mess can become our message, right? Our mess becomes our message because it gives people hope. And ultimately, that's what we should be selling and sharing and giving is hope to everybody. Hope that anything is possible. Hope that life will get better. Hope that relationships can be restored. Hope that we can design and create an extraordinary life. Hope that we can wake up passionate and excited and have a meaningful life, right? All these types of things. So, hey, I just appreciate you. Got 32 of you on here right now. I think we're about to hit 5,000 in this group. So think about that. I don't know what percentage that is. That's like 0.00 something. You guys are showing up, and you have to show up to go up. I know I've heard you're either going to grow or you're going to go, you're going to get better or you're going to get left. And you guys are all here and you're getting better. And so just continue to do that. And everything good that happens for you, pay it forward, share it with someone else. Each one, teach one, bring someone on here on Thursday when we go over lesson 8. And I hope you all have a fantastic, wonderful day. And make sure you get your Just Celery order in. And the more I learned about that, the more at first I was like, celery juice? Like, what? And now I'm reading about it and I'm learning about it. I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't wait to get mine because I'm just going to wake up in the morning, drink 8 ounces of water with some celery juice and go from there. So I'm excited for where our company's headed. I'm excited that you all are here. And I can't wait to see what all happens for all of you and people that come into your organizations that you're able to mentor. So have a blessed day. See y'all later.
See you guys. Have a good one.